Welcome back to A Step Above. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, but today, May 5th, this is a very special day to me. This is the inception day of my organization business that I created. Today is the fourth year, and I am extremely blessed, extremely fortunate to have been in business for 4 years, 4 years strong, not only creating something, but being able to hire people, change people's lives, and also change my life. And you guys have seen that firsthand from videos I post or just things that I speak of. And in the 4 years that my organization has been functioning, there are three things that I wanted to speak on. I made a list, so just give me a moment. The first one is just on business itself. Now, am I the leading authority when it comes to business? Absolutely not. I'm not going to say what happened in my specific situation was luck. There was a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of long nights, a lot of more gray hairs, of just how things were going to look moving forward. And I will say, when it comes to business, many individuals have this idea that you have to dip your toes or dip your hands or just be involved in many different areas of business or just entrepreneurship. And I don't believe that's very accurate. Now, does that can that be interpreted in many different ways? Of course, some people want to be involved in many different things, but I digress. I don't want to get too far off the topic. My advice would be finding one thing and becoming proficient at it. Not great at it, not the best at it, but being proficient at it. Business is one of those things where it can be here today, gone tomorrow. So you want to have something that establishes what you're doing and what your organization is doing from the other competitors, because there's always going to be competitors. I think about that often of, hey, tomorrow or next month or next year, someone can knock my organization off and I'd have to restart. So if you're going into business, you want to become an entrepreneur, stick to one thing and become proficient at it. Learn as much as you can about that one thing and build on that. One thing that I've had to learn the hard way in many situations is trying to do too much at once. Being able to delegate, being able to have other people on your team who can work on areas that you don't have to focus on. And yeah, you're going to have to spend some money, but when you look at your specific proficient skill, you don't want to overextend yourself in many different areas and try to do too much. I know one thing for me was like the whole social media piece. And could I do it? Yes, but it wasn't the best uses of my time. It's a lot easier to hire an organization to do that stuff for you, any type of marketing, SEO, things of that nature. So you, myself, or you can just focus on what is the vision of your company. What are you trying to accomplish, whether it be a specific industry, acquiring a certain price point financially, whatever the case may be, focusing on that, not so much of the smaller things. So delegation is absolutely going to be key. My next point, friends, family, relationships. In this endeavor of 4 years, I've lost a lot of friendships. I haven't been the best friend that I believe I could be because I put my business as the forefront. Now, that's something that I'm not going to apologize about that because it's something that is very important to me because so many individuals rely on me. So with that, there had to be sacrifices, and there are friendships that I had to sacrifice those friendships because you are going to continue to grow as a business owner. Not everybody is going to grow at that same pace, and not everybody is willing to accept what you're able to give them because your business is your obligation and it is your main priority. So, as unfortunate as this is, in some cases, again, depending on how you scale your organization, there's going to be relationships that are no longer sustainable because of the direction you're in and the direction they're in, it's going to look different. And that is one area that many individuals, the uncertainty with that, they want to avoid that. But I will say, you are going to find individuals who come with you on that journey who understand what you're doing, and they're going to be with you through multiple seasons of your life. And I can attest to that because I have people, and I'm sure you all have seen them, whether it be on my stories, in my videos, of people who have continued to just rock with me for the last several years, and I wholeheartedly appreciate them and their presence and their just friendship and kindness. With relationships and family, it's the same thing with relationships. Relationships have come, they've gone. You may or may not run into that, but one thing I would say you're more than likely going to have to accept is the finite amount of time that you have for keeping consistency in relationships. And what I specifically mean about that is the time you get up to the time you go to sleep, you're on a schedule for things that you have to accomplish. And many times that doesn't include inserting somebody in that time because you'll be doing them a disservice that you can't give what you can or what they specifically need from you during that time. And that may not be sufficient enough to maintain the quality or longevity in relationships. Now, can you build with somebody? I can't say yes or no because that hasn't been my experience. It may be yours, it may be people that you know. I think there's ebbs and flows when it comes to the concept of you can build with somebody, but that somebody has to be on the exact same page, locked in footsteps with you during this the journey of the highs and the lows. Because if that is the case, friends, relationships, they are going to, I guess, catch some of the windfall or be the ones privileged enough to be on the receiving end of what you put in. And that's something that many people don't have the patience to wait during that process. But the ones who are, yes, they can be recipients to what you've created and the time and effort you put into that. Now, same thing applies to family in some circumstances. And, I won't put all my business out there. Family members, you become distant. You become distant because you also have to deal with the level of success that one has. And again, this is just anecdotal. People want to associate with you because of that level of success. And you start to recognize these patterns of people that come around you that they may not have been there when you didn't have, but when you have, it's a completely different story. But patterns of the times they only reach out is when they're in need. And many times, and this is an unfortunate piece, but again, I'm only speaking to when you start to scale your life, these are problems or obstacles that come from that. And there's going to be, again, I don't want this for anybody, but times where family become more of a shackle than individuals that appreciate what you're doing. And again, I don't say this to be callous by any means. I'm only speaking of possibilities that many individuals who have created business or went down the entrepreneur route, they've experienced themselves. So that is an area that you just want to be cognizant of this. Now, when you talk business, this would be my last point. When you talk business in regards to next steps, what do you want your organization, your company, whatever it is that you're doing, self-employed, what do you want that to look like? And the only reason I said is I used this word earlier. You have a finite amount of time. Are you going to be keep doing the same thing over and over? What is your plan to scale what you're doing? Do you want to franchise your organization? Do you want to create multiple branches of your organization? What is it that you want that to look like? Now, that's one thing that I've not only considered, but I've done as well. I have a company here in Denver, Fort Collins, Thornton, and Grand Junction, and continuing to expand. So you have to keep that in mind, and you have to have the right people because you can't be at all those places at once. So you're going to have a level of trust with individuals who you may not be able to see that often, but you have to tap in with them just to ensure that they're still seeing your vision. And that in itself can be anxiety prone for many individuals who aren't accustomed to delegating or giving that much trust to individuals. But in business, this is something you're going to have to do. You can't take everything on at once. So if you want to scale, whether it be the number of organizations, profit, you want to go from four figures starting off to five figures to six figures to seven figures. If you want that type of revenue, yes, it's going to require an amount of time, dedication. You're going to need the right people around you. You're going to have to develop a well-oiled machine, aka a team that are going to pick up many of the areas that you would not want to dedicate your time to so you can keep focused on the mission of your company. So to wrap this all up in regards to just 4 years being in business and Lord willing another four and many more after that, any questions you guys have, I will do my best to answer them. A lot of my people who actually know me in real life, they know what I do. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I I can honestly say it's a different ball game every day, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. That being said, I appreciate your audience, and I'll catch you next time.